Globes took place last weekend, and an industry that is quickly receding from relevance is handing each other trophies. Let's get into it. These celebrities talk about borders that they don't live near, crime that they don't experience, schools that they don't send their children to, and values that they don't practice outside of their speeches.
And you're going to thank God and the trans community.
Before we get too deep, my name is Casey. I've been a husband, father, psychologist, and concerned conservative man for more than a decade, and I have seen that these Hollywood elites have lost touch with reality. If you would like to restore touch with truth, please like, share, and subscribe on the way in. Let's get into exactly who signaled what and why they are so out of touch with the audiences. So let's start with this. They came in wearing anti-ice pins that said "ice out" on it, and they were prominently worn on the red carpet, as well as there was anti-enforcement messaging throughout. What they weren't talking about was what their industry was actually doing and how they were losing relevance to AI and online creators in mass. And while the movie industry may have made a slight uptick from what it was doing in the previous year, it is clear that Hollywood has lost the plot, and these are the people who are supposed to be writing the plots. Let's get into the specific things that were said and why these supposed heroes are only left-wing ideologues in costume.
Our softness is not a liability. Our depth is not too much. Our light does not need permission to shine. We belong in every room we walk into. Our voices matter, and our dreams deserve space. Thank you so much, everybody.
So the first big political pause break goes to the award presenter herself, Nikki Glaser, and host, who said that the best award for BS goes to CBS, and she's punching at some of the political framing that CBS didn't want to cover a story about Salvadoran prisons because it only punched one way, and so that's most obviously the point. Or perhaps she's just angry that there is a Jew in charge, but probably at a Hollywood event that wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing. So there's no recent project that reshaped comedy in the awards at all. There's no breakout cultural moment within the last year from Hollywood. There's no mass audience pull outside of awards and media bubbles.
Good work. And just like the podcasters nominated tonight, I should not be allowed to be this close to Julia Roberts.
In a healthy comedic industry, comedians punch in every direction, or they punch in ways that has been unheard and unseen before. That's what makes it comedic. But in this instance, and of course for the last year, they have only punched in one direction, and that is directly right, and which happens to be half of their audience, and that's potentially why this industry continues to lose.
About inspiring people and telling them to do the right things.
Well,
elaborate for me a little bit. What did you hope to convey through that message?
Well, I have mixed feelings about getting political or making social commentary at an awards event, and I know that there are people out there watching who think, we don't want to hear actors give us their opinions. Why do we care what you think? And I totally understand why they feel
Jean
that way.
Smart got up to the mic, and honestly, I have no idea who this person is, but she did say that let's do the right thing. Everybody knows what the right thing is, and this implicitly says that everyone agrees in advance, which probably in the room that she's standing in, everyone does agree in advance, and she never has to defend the definition of what that right thing might be, and she never has to face any dissent, because of course it's a little applause line that everyone in Hollywood, that's what they're all clicks. That's any comedian, it's just applause breaks. It has absolutely nothing to do with actual comedy.
So important that everybody wakes up and opens their eyes and is brave and calm, but at the same time try to be active. And
so what recent project gave her the authority to lecture the country? There has been no box office phenomenon. There is no cross-generational cultural moment. There has been no work that broke out of the industry's echo chamber. So the only authority doesn't come from achievement. It comes from institutional ideologues, and institutional applause. That's not leadership, it's insulation. And by the way, it might as well be asbestos because it's killing the industry from the inside.
I get to accept the award on your behalf, and you're going to thank God and the trans community.
Next came Wanda Sykes, who's always the most revelatory thinker in our modern times. She said, "You're going to thank God and the trans community." This wasn't a joke that was built on risk. It was built on enforcement. Clap if you're aligned. Everyone who stops clapping first is the one who's on their way out. Laugh if you're safe. Stay silent if you're smart. Because if you disagree, then your silence will be complicit. And if you speak out against anything related to these, you will be canceled. And again, look at the results. There's been no project dominating culture. There's been no must-watch change in the medium. And there's been no measurable audience expansion. Here's the problem. These awards shows no longer reflect audience demand. They no longer reflect financial success. And they no longer reflect cultural presentation. What they do reflect is peer approval inside an ever encircling smaller and smaller echo chamber of people from Hollywood who just simply don't understand the temperature and time that it is. And I don't entirely blame them, because when a cornered animal is feeling the danger from exerting pressures from the outside, they go rabid, they start biting, they start lashing out, and this loop is getting ever smaller, and the cornered animal has begun lashing out with ever more fervency. However, they do not have the cultural capital to be able to actually strike a meaningful blow on the culture itself. They are no longer big enough for the invading wolf, and that's why they're biting back.
For all of our cast and crew, every single member of this production, you have a piece of this.
So the esteemed Netflix drama Adolescence won a bunch of awards, which was something that yet again framed males as the bad guys and framed young white men specifically as being aggressors who are leaning into a red pill culture and accepting the advice of people like Andrew Tate in order to carry out acts of, really stark and horrible things against women, which statistically doesn't bear out, as well as just simply casts men again in this horrible light. And these types of awards are not stunning and brave anymore because it's not new anymore. Y'all have been blaming men for 50 flipping years for every little thing. Patriarchy bad, we get it. Now, are we still going to be handing awards to each other for saying the same thing next year? I have an idea. Why don't you do it in reverse? Why don't you take a look at how sometimes femininity run wild can lead from what used to be complementarianism into a dominant feminine culture that actually hurts men? Why don't we do some awards based on that? Oh yeah, that doesn't fit the cultural narrative, so it will never be pressed into existence. Shame on you.
What? Okay!
This is what happens when a studio or an industry stops asking, do people love this? And they start asking, did we agree with this? Us, our tribe, the Hollywood tribe. Do we agree with this? Then let's all clap, hand each other trophies, and neglect what it is that the public actually wants, sees, feels, and is experiencing. These celebrities talk about borders that they don't live near, crime that they don't experience, schools that they don't send their children to, and values that they don't practice outside of their speeches. While they do talk about all of these things, they are producing works that fewer and fewer people are watching every year. This disconnect isn't accidental, it's structural, because the people that are supposed to hold institutional clout no longer speak to the average people like us, and they don't talk to the public anymore. They talk at each other, and when they get approval and affirmation from inside the house, they never have to leave.
And let's do this together. Let's keep our hearts open, and let's keep seeing each other.
Here's the psychological read on all this, because I am a psychologist by trade, and I do like to criticize culture by trade. Here's the psychological read. Growing industries are curious. Winning cultures are relaxed. Confident creators take risks. Where do we see that? The podcast culture, the online culture, YouTube and other places online, declining elites moralize, they scold, they demand applause, and they punish disagreement, just like that cornered animal I was talking about. That's not strength, it is panic. They can see the culture shifting towards online creators, online platforms, and audiences that no longer need permission and, yes, have very little censoring in comparison. So the speeches get harsher, the politics get louder, and the awards get ever more self-referential, and the scolds get louder, the HRification gets stronger, and the moral piety test is a spiral that's going all the way down the political toilet in the Hollywood toilet bowl. The Golden Globes didn't showcase excellence. They showcased a group of people that continue to award themselves for nothing, for work that didn't even move the culture, and that while they insist that other people speak their values, otherwise they get canceled and punished by their cultural hegemony, which is dying. That's not outspokenness, it is being out of touch. Hollywood isn't losing because people don't like art. They love art. They love good art. Hollywood is losing because they forgot respect is earned and not applauded into existence. If you'd like to applaud this Midwestern midwit as I complain about a culture from a psychological and dad perspective, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd love your support.